Assalamualaikum. Hi, my name is tuanhaziqiqbal bin Tuan HUSSIN from DC 6A, and today I'm going to talk about Paul John Knowles, aka PJK, and relate it to the seven social process that grease the slippery slope of evil. So first I'm going to talk about his background. Paul John Knowles was born on April 17, 1946 in Orlando, Florida, United States, and he died in December 18, 1974 in Georgia, United States. So without further ado, we will go through the seven process. Firstly, the first process is mindlessly taking the first step. Knowles began a life of crime at the age of 8 in 1994, when he was just 8 years old. His crimes were mainly petty theft, and he did not do any big theft at that time when he was just 8 years old. He was just a kid at that time. So by the time he was 19, he was escalated to kidnapping and was incarcerated for kidnapping a police officer. He stole the police officer's cars and took the police officers as hostage, and then he was sent to jail for 6 months, but then he was granted parole and sought to marry Mrs. Angela Kovic, with whom he had corresponded from prison. Kovic, a recently divorced cocktail waitress from San Francisco, was delighted to have Knowles as a pen pal, and after just a few letters back and forth, they had fallen in love. Before she would hire him a lawyer who managed to swing him a parole and arrange for him to fly to San Francisco to marry her. However, upon seeing Knowles, Kovic called off the wedding. According to her, Knowles projected an aura of fear that make her scared. In addition to his aura, her psychic had warned her about a dangerous new man in her life. The aura combined with the warning was enough for Kovic to send Knowles packing. So I think what Kovic did here is the right thing, as later that night, PJK or Paul John Knowles murdered 3 strangers on the streets of Francisco. So she did the right thing by avoiding married to this guy. Then the next day, he arrived back in Jacksonville, where he pulled a knife on a bartender during a fight. He was arrested for the bar fight and thrown back in jail, but he didn't stay there for long, as he escaped a few months later from the jail or the prison. The second process is dehumanization of others, seeing others as an object. PJK or Paul John Knowles has raped both gender, males and females, in different states, which is in Florida, in Georgia, in Ohio, in Nevada, in Texas, in Virginia, and Connecticut. So his method is strangulation. So he strangle his victims until they cannot breathe, and then until they die. And using the victims' own nylon stockings. So he even raped the victims that has died. So the next process is de-individualization of self, anonymity. So people give PJK a title, which is a Casanova killer. Why? Because his good looks and charm. In fact, one of his victims, that names Barbara, that has escaped from being his victims that he killed. So in an interview, she said to the interviewer that if she made PJK earlier at the bar, she would fall in love with him because of his charm and look. The next social process is diffusion of personal responsibility, meaning that transfer responsibility to someone else. So after going through the PJK story, I found that he did not accuse or he did not transfer his guilty or his responsibility to anyone else. Instead, after being asked by the interviewer what mistake that he cannot forget until now, he said that it is by born into this world. Means that what I can translate here is he knows the crime that he did is terrible and accept the fact that he is guilty. So next social process is blind obedience to authority, followers. He didn't have any followers as he did this crime alone and without forcing anyone to join him. But he enjoyed being a famous murderer as he gladly wanted to make a documentation about himself and then publish it to the public. Next social process is uncritical conformity to group norms. This is also the same, where he didn't have any followers, he didn't have any groups, so there is no norms in group that can be elaborated. The last process is passive tolerance to evil through inaction or indifference. So before Paul John Knowles is sentenced, not sentenced, so that he died with a gunshot. So before he died, he has met an attorney named Sheldon Loves. So he met and then he asked him to make a document to videotape him, explain about his murderer, explain about where he buried his victim, and what did he do to the victim. So attorney Sheldon Loves was keeping the tape after PJK died and locked it away by saying that it is the client's private and the officers cannot take it away from him. And then the officer caught his wife, then put her to jail and asked Sheldon Loves to hand over the tape. Later he agrees to hand over the tape and his wife has been released from the jail. So when the officers got the videotape, they managed to find more about PJK's victims, about the locations and what happened to the victims, and managed to deliver the news to the victims' family members. I think that's all from me. Thank you for listening.